Hey guys, sorry there were some technical difficulties with getting this live stream set up tonight, but we are good to go. Holy crap. What a game tonight. That was just so amazing to watch the Jazz absolutely obliterate the Golden State Warriors. I mean, if you look at the final score, it's close because of the Jazz and Warriors bench duking it out, but absolutely phenomenal. I believe the Jazz put up 38 points in the first, 39 in the second, and 31 in the third. Had they come out and played another solid quarter, we're looking at like 140, 150. Just an absolutely insane number of points from the Utah Jazz. Now, while that was an absolutely incredible team game, it actually surprised me looking at the box score. Nobody had an overall just insane game. 4 of the 5 starters were in double digits. You had Bojan with 14, Gobert with 11, Conley with 17, and Mitchell with 23. And then O'Neal was almost there with 9 points. Ingles had a good game off the bench with 13, and Clarkson had a below average game for him, but with 14 points tonight. Did we really need anyone to do more than they did? No, and this was overall just death by 1,000 cuts for the Warriors. Their plane landed at about 2 a.m. this morning, so that makes this game hard enough as is. And while I wouldn't have been surprised with the talent that Steph Curry and Draymond Green bring to the team if Golden State had been able to make it a game, this is just who the Jazz have shown us that they are. These past 7 games, they came out and they made it in 8 games in a row. So I think this upcoming Monday, I believe, we'll see them show the Knicks who's the better team, and that game in New York was an absolute fluke. So really excited. I'm excited to hear your guys' take. Please drop a like on the video and leave some comments in the chat so that we can get to those tonight. Plus minus on the game. Conley, as always, has the highest one on the team with 40, followed by Gobert with 38, Bojan with 36, O'Neal with 26, and Mitchell had 28. The bench, when you look at like Joe Ingles did a really good job. When you look at anyone who was playing the last 5 minutes where the Warriors bench could have made a game of it, if it wasn't a 40-point game. I mean, they're all like minus 20, but that's to be expected. There's a reason they're the deep end of the bench. They're good, and maybe if they had the starting minutes, they'd be able to get to form a lot quicker. But overall, don't really expect to see them do anything amazing. So I'm going to get to some of the stuff in the chat here real quick, okay. So yeah, the Knicks game, Stuart Mortensen said that he believes that's on Tuesday. So the Jazz get a bit of a longer break, which will be nice for them to get a breather and just have some time at home and not have to be out on the road traveling. Going to team statistics, the biggest concern for the Jazz this whole season, just this stat that's been giving them so many problems every game, has been turnovers. Now tonight, if you look at it just straight, they had 16 turnovers. However, I believe 6 or 7 of those came in the last 6 minutes when the benches were cleared. So overall, really great ball handling by the Jazz. When you look at about 9 or 10 turnovers with the starters compared to 28 assists, they had a mediocre game for the Utah Jazz, shooting 20 of 50 from 3 for only 40%, but they're going to come back down to earth. I do expect to see some games over the next week or two where they shoot 32, 33% and just end up really like fixing their average, or whatever you want to call it. Since as much as I love the Jazz to, can I pull up the team stat really quick? I don't have the team stat pulled up for 3-point percentage, But as much as I'd love the Jazz to end the season 40+% from three, no team in the NBA has ever done it. And while the Jazz are definitely a team capable of doing that, I don't think that this is going to be the year where you see that happening. Defenses in the NBA are amazing, even if some teams decide not to play it. So it's going to take players being able to shoot as deep as Steph Curry and Damian Lillard and Trae Young can, but having 4 or 5 of those a team before a team's able to clear the 40% mark. I think just it's that astronomical, and 2% off doesn't seem like that much, but it really is. I mean, a lot of shots in the NBA to be able to make that swing. Yeah, a lot of credit to the front office for how this team is built. Getting Derek Favors back, I really just thought was a Jazz fan's dream, where I remember when I was in middle school hearing how Darren Williams was going to come back after he got traded. And that really rarely happens in the NBA, having a player come back in free agency, especially when a team traded them away on the last year of their contract. So Derek being back has been an absolute boon to this bench. The defense hasn't went up as much as we thought it would, but it's the 3rd or 4th offensive bench in the league, averaging just under 40 points a game. So when you pair that with the dominant scorer that Donovan Mitchell is, you're up to 65 points. Give us 30 points between Bojan and Conley combined. You're at 95. And then you have typically Gobert. Well, you always have Gobert at center, and give him 10 points. You're at 105. And then add another 10 points for absolutely drawing a blank O'Neal, and you're at 115. So Jazz are easily looking at, just with how averages are going, 110 plus a game, which is going to win you a lot of matchups in the modern NBA, especially when your defense is as solid as the Jazz's is. Going to try to stop saying, I like to speak at a million words a minute and throw that in there. And really, it again, like, if you keep, there's again. If you keep your starters in the whole game, Golden State doesn't score above 100 points, I don't think. So this was the Jazz keeping another team to pseudo under 100 for however many games in a row, and just defensively and offensively dominating the ball, which is just awesome to see the Jazz really come to fruition in this 8-game win streak. We discussed earlier today in our weekend podcast where we think the Jazz are going to end up. And Dale gave them a 10-game win streak. He thinks they will beat the Knicks, beat the Mavs, and then from there, he's not sure where they're going to lose. I think that while Mavericks, Nuggets starting next week will be a rough 3-game patch, that the Jazz could honestly stretch this win streak to 16 to 17 games with how they've been playing before they get to their hardest stretch of the season. As of now, they're tied for first in the Western Conference with both of the LA teams, which is nice to see. I do think that the Lakers are going to continue to separate from the pack in the future and lock up that 1 seed. And the Clippers, I think, are the second best team in the West. I think the Jazz could beat them. I think they could win in a 7-game series. If I had to put my money down, I'm putting it down on the Clippers. But with the load management, you could see them dropping a few more games than expected and have them end up down in the 3 seed, and the Jazz could get the 2 seed. And if the Jazz get the 2 seed, I would be very confident in them making it to the Western Conference Finals. I think, especially depending on how many fans can be in the stands come playoff time, that having home court here in that second round matchup against the Clippers or Dallas or Denver, whoever it may be, is just really going to be just that thing that tips the scales in the Jazz's favor to send them to face the Lakers in that Western Conference Finals matchup. Now, I think the only way the Jazz are getting past the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals this year is if the Lakers end up losing AD or end up losing LeBron. I feel like with COVID and that injury, it would be a really big asterisk making it to the finals. But if the Jazz make it to the finals, I just think this city is going to have a whole lot to celebrate. And hopefully they're able to do a bit better than Darren Williams in that '08 team and get back to it and not have get back to the Western Conference Finals and not have that one season be just a highlight and have a bunch of low lights from there. Jazz really could. Tingus Pingus says Jazz could win all of their games left in January. Absolutely. Dallas is a talented team. They have Porzingis back, but he still has to get in his rhythm, and he's spotty sometimes. So I think they'll easily win their first game against the Mavs this next week. Second game, Carlisle is an amazing coach, and we'll have another scare, I think, like against the Pelicans, and hopefully the Jazz can stay on fire and do what they did in that game earlier this week and come back and then just absolutely flip the script in that second half. So I think that we really could see, I would need to look more at the Clippers schedule and the Lakers schedule, the Jazz being the 2 seed, and if the Lakers have a few hiccups, be the 1 seed at the end of January. So this team really is one of the top 5 teams in the league. If you go to 538 and go by conference, right now they have the Jazz projected to win, to be the 3rd seed in the West, solidly ahead of the Mavericks at the 4 seed, but also solidly behind the Clippers at the 2 seed. And if you go by current rating, they put the Clippers as the best team, followed by the Nets, Bucks, Lakers, 76ers, and the Jazz just behind the 76ers as the 6th best team. So, you can make arguments. How good are the 76ers? Like, they have the talent, but how consistent is their talent? The Jazz throttled the Bucks in one game, and we'll get to play them a couple more times and see if that was a fluke or if the Jazz really are going to be able to shoot 50+% on the Bucks every time they play. If that was the finals matchup the Jazz got, again, I don't think they'll make it there this year, but if they did, I think you could see the Jazz just destroy the Bucks, because the Jazz play basketball the exact way that the Bucks don't want you to play. Just the way they guard the rim and guard the mid-range and force you to shoot threes. And the Jazz currently have 5 players shooting 40% from 3, and they're totally fine if you make them take threes. They'll take them all night long. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have any more comments, you can leave those in the chat, and I'll hit those up before I head out. We'll keep the conversation going in the comments. So please, live chat will end, but head over to the video, get on the comments. We are so close to 300 subscribers. Last I saw, we're at 289. So if you can help us hit that before we get to the next game this Tuesday, that would be awesome. We're on our trail to 1,000, and we're still, fingers crossed, going to make that before the end of this season. So have a great night, guys, and go Jazz.